Brewers put another man on the injured list. Hey, they just keep bouncing back from adversity. Another win, up a game and a half in the standings now in NL Central. The resilient Milwaukee Brewers, they weren't going to lose 2 in a row to the Pirates. That story coming up next here on Locked On Brewers.
You are Locked On Brewers, your daily Milwaukee Brewers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yeah, you knew the Brewers were going to lose to the Pirates again. Come on, we knew that wasn't going to happen. I mean, the Brewers are the best team in the division. They're in first place for a reason. They put 12 guys on the injured list through 40 some odd games. 12 guys have gone on the injured list, and this team just continues to persevere. Is that a right word? But you know what I'm saying. They just keep on winning. The national media doesn't have to talk about it. I get these news headlines from MLB.com all the time. With all due respect to my buddy Adam McCalvey, who's a great writer. He's got no control over the national MLB.com, but it's the same headlines all the time. The Yankees. All right. Okay. What's going on with the Dodgers? What's going on with Shohei? I'll tell you what's going on with the Milwaukee Brewers is they're in first place. And you know what? They're what is this? 8 games over the 500 mark, 25-17. I'm trying to read my writing. 25-17, a game and a half up on the Cubs. If you can't tell me that's one of the best stories in baseball, all right, with a manager that, okay, nobody had really ever heard of before. Everybody was throwing money at Craig Counsell and over the years, all these other guys, all right? But then there's Pat Murphy sitting in the dugout. Was an interim manager one other time, I think it was, in San Diego, baseball coach at Notre Dame. And then this guy's given the job. He's given his opportunity when we didn't know what to expect. And here he is. He's got this team in first place. I know there's a long way to go. I get that. But, man, I'm excited. I get excited every game our team is in first place or gets a W and stays in the pennant race. I'd rather be where we are than where the St. Louis Cardinals are. But Murphy, I think he's proven. Smart baseball guy. Over time will tell on how good of a manager he's going to be. But all the early indications. But I've been down this road. Admittedly, I've been down this road from every manager who has started off with some success, all the way back to Tom Trebelhorn, who won his first 13 games in 1987, on top of the 3 games he finished up in the 86 season. And then Phil Garner in 92. We all love Phil. And by the way, I think Phil was given a bad break in Milwaukee. He just didn't have the ingredients to cook with. You go right down the line. Ned Yost had some initial success. Okay. Ron Renicky. All right. Right down the list, you can go with guys. And then, Craig Counsell had some success, obviously, winningest manager of Brewer history. And Murphy off to a good start. All right. But we'll let it marinate. That's what I always say. I like to let things marinate a little bit and let them and see how they all pan out. But am I going to get excited about the Milwaukee Brewers and the way they're playing? Absolutely. What's this team going to be like when Devin Williams comes back? What's this team going to be like when Garrett Mitchell comes back? What's this team going to be like if they get a Brandon Woodruff healthy going in the next season? We can go Rhys Hoskins when they get him back, and we'll talk about that. On and on, we could talk about guys. But you know what? This Brewers team is resilient, and I don't know what it is, good start or what. They're just a good, fun ball team to watch. They lose on Monday night, a couple of things didn't go well with them out of the bullpen, and they bounced back. And Joe Ross, a guy who they picked up off the scrap heap. Nobody wanted Joe Ross. He comes in here, and again, I don't know how much long-term Ross is. Murph was talking to the press conference on Tuesday night, saying that, this guy, and he's right, this guy was a good pitcher once. Ross has got a lot of motivation to get back to the pitcher that he once was before the injuries. And Yeah, he's pitched some good ones. He's had a couple of tough ones, but we're not expecting this guy to go out there and be Greg Maddux. All right. So far, has exceeded our expectations. 5 innings, 2 hits, 6 Ks out of a guy many teams had written off. Brewers offered him a contract. He's come in here and had to be one of the top to middle of the rotation type of guys and has done just fine. And the bullpen, lose Devin Williams. Uribe's down in the minors. But tonight, 4 innings pitched, 7 Ks. Yes, yes, yes. All good. So I've talked a lot about Murphy so far and, the pitching and how this team is so resilient. And they're winning. And there is no doubt in my mind. What are they? Probably a 130 favorite on Wednesday against the Pirates. Run to the pay window right there, because man, I think the Brewers all day. They go on a West Coast road trip, or they go on a 9-game road trip after this, starting off in Houston, and we'll see how things go. But and Houston's not playing great, but man, I just love the way this team, whenever we think it might be headed in the wrong direction, they are able to pull up their boots and get going, and they certainly have. And an impressive 4-3 win over the Pirates on Tuesday night. And I haven't even mentioned about Sal Frelick, because the night belonged to Sal Frelick. Certainly it did. Chuck Freeman here on Locked On Brewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. I got right into it, and I'm sorry I didn't even introduce myself. But for those of you who've been on, you know who I am. Chuck Freeman, longtime sportscaster here in the state of Wisconsin, sports talk show host, and proud host of Locked On Brewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. And you get us on Google, Spotify, Apple, on all the major downloads. And of course, go to our growing YouTube page, search Locked On Brewers, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell. That'll alert you every time we drop an episode on Locked On Brewers. We're going to get to some of your tweets. I'm going to try to get some of your comments on YouTube as well. I may not be able to get to those, but we'll see. This show is brought to you in part by eBay Motors. From brakes to exhaust kits and beyond, eBay Motors has over 122 million parts to keep your ride or die alive. With all the parts you need, the prices you want, it's easy to bring home the big win. Your ride or die, keep it alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay guaranteed fit. Only available to U.S. customers. We'll talk more about eBay Motors a little bit later on in the show. PrizePicks, though. PrizePicks. You want to win some money? Maybe you like some matchups coming up on Monday. On Wednesday. There's some Wednesday afternoon baseball, including the Brewers with a 12:10 start. Of course, you get that on Sirius XM. You get the home team call on that. But PrizePicks. Telling you about PrizePicks for a while. I've had some people message me about that. Baseball, NHL, NBA playoffs. Get in on all the playoff action. Win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks. Take the best game, the players of the world. Take over, under on points. It's the easiest and most exciting way to get on all the action. Watch your favorite sports and players. Pick more or less on 2 or more player stats and watch the winnings roll in. But you can't win unless you roll out the app today. Download the app, PrizePicks. Use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB, and that first deposit match up to $100. First deposit match up to $100. You can't go anything wrong on that. Again, PrizePicks. Use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB. That first deposit match up to $100. You need to get in on all the winning. Maybe you like Adames on the over on hits tomorrow, or maybe you like him on the under, or you think Frelick is going to keep going. All that. Some of you guys know the stats. You follow it. You follow the matchups. Take advantage on PrizePicks. We're coming right back here on Locked On Brewers. Welcome back to Locked On Brewers. Chuck Freeman, your host here on Locked On Brewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. I wanted to get Murphy off my chest because I've been wanting to talk about him for a while. He'll play some ABC baseball. I had an email last week say, the Brewers have gotten a little away from ABC baseball, which I get. I understood that a little bit, yes. But it's been a happy transition. And before I get, I did bury the lead on Sal Frelick, but before I want to say this, and one more thing on Murphy. My concern going into the season with Murphy as the manager was not anything that he could do. It was if he got off to a slow start, would fans start crying and wanting Ricky Weeks, who's his right-hand man, the bench coach. I didn't want to see that. I didn't want to see that. I don't want to hear all that useless chatter. Murphy got off to a great start. Yeah, my sure's down the road. This is what happens to all managers. So will people will start be talking about the assistant coach down the line? Happens everywhere. And certainly with Ricky Weeks, his name, as soon as the Brewers start hitting a little bit of a slide, which happens in baseball, I'm sure that'll come up. But so far, so good. Murphy's doing his job. Weeks is getting an education on how to manage a baseball team. And this is Pat Murphy's team. And Sal Frelick talked about how he needed that swing on Tuesday night, that home run swing, his first of the year. Here we are, mid-May, and it's Frelick's first home run of the year. But that's okay. I don't need him to hit me 25 home runs a year. He said he's been looking for that swing all year long, made 2 spectacular catches, one in short center field, and of course the one going back in the 9th inning on McCutchen. Back to the track, diving catch. Or was that the 8th inning? Might have been the 8th inning. I think it was the 8th inning. Diving catch. Which, it saved who knows where that inning goes from there if that one gets behind him. But he's going back toward the wall on the best defensive play of the Brewers this year. So Sal Frelick, hopefully that'll kickstart him a little bit. And that was good to see. Rhys Hoskins. Well, we talked a lot about Rhys yesterday, about what we were hoping for. Initially, he's been placed on the injury list, but initially they were going to seek a second opinion on his hamstring. Apparently that is now off the table, and he's out 2 to 4 weeks. Now, I would say that's a maximum. I should say a minimum of 4 weeks. You know how hamstrings go, especially with the big fella. If that thing, he could come back, and while he tries to rehab it, it might take him a little longer than 4 weeks. But they're going to miss his bat. There's no doubt about it. I talked about him yesterday, but not getting a second opinion. It's a mild strain on a hamstring, and it's not torn, thank God. But he's going to have to deal with that, and hopefully that is something that is not going to be a part of him the rest of the season. I'm fearing it might, but 2 to 4 weeks. So we won't see Hoskins probably again until mid-June. That sucks, to be honest with you, because I think this guy was on his way upwards of 35 to 40 home runs this year. They've recalled Owen Miller. Owen Miller is not Rhys Hoskins. Owen might see some first base time, but Bowers is going to be the Brewers' first baseman for the foreseeable future. But yeah, 2 to 4 weeks. My gut feeling tells me on the upward of 4 weeks and possibly even longer. Uribe worked an inning in Nashville. Tyler Kurth, I saw his tweet on the X tonight, and I was reading his tweet. He said that down at Nashville, through an inning, struck out 2 as they try to get Uribe squared. How about Brian Hudson? What a performance from him out of the bullpen again. 2 innings, no hits. Really, in the middle part of that game, Hudson comes in. B. Huddy, I think his nickname is. B. Huddy really settles things, keeps things going, doesn't start any fires. 2 innings, no hits. And Brian Hudson continues to be just the man coming out of this bullpen. Great win. Update on Wade Miley. Saw that article that was written on him in the Journal Sentinel. Now, Miley says he's got so much pain in that arm after surgery. He says, seriously, if I had to do it again, I would have just retired. And I thought he might. And the possibility of him coming back at 39, that's a long shot still. But I wouldn't put it past this guy. He's determined to come back. I don't know how much longer of a career he has. We don't know how good he's going to be. But he was pitching pretty well. And he talked in this article on the JS that that the elbow had been bothering him time to time this spring. So I don't know what his future is. He wants to come back. Most guys, 38, 39 years old, they get that type of injury. It's donezo. They're done. Wade Miley appears to wanting to come back. Good for him. He wants to come back. good. If he doesn't, I don't know his financial situation. I don't know what he needs to do, but certainly Wade Miley, if he retired tomorrow, nobody would blame him, but he's been around the team. And I heard that news tonight about Devin Williams. Not only is he coming back in mid-July, but they were talking on the broadcast tonight on how Williams has been traveling with the team, been around the team every day. And I think that is so good. That is so good. Easily, some of these guys, there's been Brewer players in the past, I'm not going to name any names, that have been injured and you haven't heard from them. You don't see them in the locker room. Some in that locker room. You don't see them in the locker room. You don't know where they are. Road trips, nowhere to be found. Collecting a big, big paycheck. Devin Williams, being a leader on that team, knowing he's not pitching for a while, and he's going to be tossing, I guess, this weekend in Houston from like 60 feet, I think I heard Sophia say. And they're going to ramp him up, and obviously he's got to get back. They got to build him up again. But the fact that this entire time he's been with the team, traveling with the team, being a mentor on that team, young guy himself, but trying to be a leader on that young pitching staff with some of those young guys. I thought that was great. That was one of the great stories of the day, because I heard the Hoskins news earlier today, and man, that bummed me out. Kind of expected it, and I was hearing the story that they were talking about Devin Williams and how much of a leader he is on this team. Need guys like that. Let's keep this guy around, man. I like that. Let's get him healthy. Sounds like it's going to be a while still with him. They're going to ramp him up, maybe right around the All-Star break, maybe a week after the All-Star break, whatever it is. Devin Williams will be a welcome addition to this team. How about the job McGill has done out of the bullpen as a closer? Gave up the home run on Tuesday night, but is just going out and being the man. Took that ball when, we thought it was going to be Piamps, and he did it for a while. I initially liked Uribe, and we know how that's gone for Uribe. He's not there yet. He wants to be a closer, but he's not there yet. And McGill has been that closer out of the bullpen. So when they get Williams back, you get McGill as that eighth inning guy, along with Piamps, Pagero, Hobie Milner. That bullpen, it's tough to put a bullpen 2 years in a row with 2 solid years, consecutive years of great pitching. Seems like the Brewers are on that way, minus their all-star closer, Devin Williams. And there's just so much to like about this team, how they piece this together. This very easily could have gone south for this team. And I don't know what direction they're headed, but they seem pretty damn good to me. They do. Again, winning with young guys, developing young guys while winning baseball games. Developing while winning baseball games. They did that last year, and they're doing it again this year with this team. Chuck Freeman here on Locked On Brewers. When we come back, we'll look at Wednesday's starter, as the Brewers have an afternoon game, one of those midweek afternoon games. Chuck Freeman here on Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. The show is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience, the formula for winning championships. Also keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle, level it up to peak performance, superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. If you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors got you covered with all of this. Guy down the street, his garage is always open. The guy is working on his car morning, noon, and night. I don't know what he does for a living. Maybe fixing cars is it. But he has told me, I said, man, you're always working on your car. He says eBay Motors is where I get my stuff. And he told me about this. And I said, man, we endorsed him on Locked On Brewers. He's not a big sports fan, but I tried explaining to him what we do here. But eBay Guaranteed Fit. Your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. All the parts you need at the prices you want. Easy to make your car the MVP and bring it home with huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive, like my pal down the street does, with ebaymotors.com. Eligible items apply. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. We're coming right back here on Locked On Brewers. Heading down the home stretch here on Locked On Brewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Chuck Freeman, great to have you along here. Thank you very much for joining us here on a Tuesday morning. Quick turnaround, 12:10 Central start for the Brewers and Pirates. You get it on Sirius and Sirius XM. All right, I put a tweet out there at the end of the game. I said the winning continues for the Brewers. Much needed, great start from Joe Ross, Sal Frelick. We'll see on Locked On Brewers. Get Euchre a ring says, wait, is that optimism about the Brewers I hear out of Chuck Freeman? Some people think I'm pessimistic. For some reason in Wisconsin, hey, how many times have we been kicked in the midsection with our sports teams in the state of Wisconsin, including our favorite baseball team? So sometimes if I'm pessimistic or disappointed, do you blame me at all? Do you blame me? And yes, I've gotten more excited about the team. Give Euchre a ring. If you don't know that I'm optimistic, you're not paying attention. Jordan says, no, they're not Brewers. The Brewers have been playing winning baseball for like a decade now, but when it's playoff time, we don't have the talent to beat more talented teams in a series. So what he's saying there is during the regular season, the Brewers are destroying teams and winning division titles, but when it comes to the postseason, they're faltering. And that's because the offense is faltering. I know Corbin Burns gets a lot of that blame for what happened last year, but as I've always said, if the Brewers would have scored some runs in both of those games against Arizona, they would have been playing the Dodgers. I think losing the Dodgers 2018, Brewers had many chances to win that series. They had Game 7 at home at AmFam Field. Okay. They had all the cards in that, man. They had home field advantage and couldn't close it out. 2011, we want to go back that far. They had home field advantage against the Cardinals. They had all the bats. They had all the 2011, 2018. Those were real good teams. So I looked at 2018. I didn't think they had to take a back seat to the Dodgers, but somehow the bats went cold. They did in 2018. 2011, they ran out of pitching. 2021 against the Atlanta Braves, offense just went silent. Lost a couple of low-scoring games to the Braves. They just couldn't score. 2020 to the Dodgers, I don't count anything that happened during COVID in any sport. None of the 2020 in all sports, just wipe that clean. That should not count. That was just a throwaway year. No fans in the stands, doesn't count to me. 2022, they didn't make the playoffs. Last year, 2023, I just mentioned Arizona score some runs. The common theme is I think the Brewers have had talent. It's just that they've run into a heck of an offensive freeze in big moments. That's my opinion on it, because you can't tell me in 2011 and 2018 and 2021 they didn't have good teams on those teams. Those were good teams. They won upwards of 90 games for a reason for those teams, because those were solid teams. So, but yeah, the problem is the playoffs. I'll grant you that. Nick says Sal is due for a hot streak. Hopefully this game will start that. That catch was unbelievable. You got that right. Ryan says, sorry, but this team's offense isn't. In other words, he says this offense isn't any good. Well, I think they're going to miss a big bat without Rhys Hoskins in there. Not going to lie. I've been advocating that guy being fourth in the lineup. I like him in the cleanup spot. They put him down in the sixth hole many times, but they're going to miss his bat. They're going to miss that power. They're going to miss that, but they're going to miss that ability for a guy to come up 240 pounds, 6'4", and jack one to the Racine Lakeshore. Okay. They're going to miss that. There's no doubt about it. They just got to hold tight. They're getting some help back here in early to mid-June. As I mentioned, some of these guys are coming back. Garrett Mitchell, he'll be on his way back. It'll be interesting how that outfield takes form, but like we always say, people say, well, how's that outfield going to be? It always seems to work out. Even you have a surplus of guys, it always seems to work out. Robert Gasser gets the start on Wednesday. Of course, he's coming off one of the best performances from a rookie debuts in Brewer history. I think there were like 5 other guys who threw 6 or more innings of shutout baseball in their debuts in the major league, starting with Jim Slayton way back in the 70s. Robert Gasser certainly did it last Friday night. We'll see what he does for an encore on Wednesday. There's going to be some more tape out there on him. They couldn't hit a sweeper on Friday night. Let's see if there's some adjustments made by the Pirates here on Wednesday afternoon. 12:10 start. I think this is one of the last 12 o'clock starts of the year. We're getting back, because they early in the year we play these early starts and then they start going to the 1:10 or the 12:40 or the 1:10 starts again. But I like these early 12:10 starts. Lately, it's been fast games though. I mean, we're getting out before rush hour traffic on 94 in Milwaukee. I mean, the games are ending by 2:30. Some of you probably even head back to work. Don't do that. You go to the ballpark tomorrow. You're off at the ballpark at 12:10. Let Freems here write you a note. Just don't be heading back to work to finish. Unless you're the boss, then you got to go back and do your own thing because it's your money. But man, take the rest of the day off, man. Take the rest of the day off. Get a couple of brewskis, have a couple of burgers, and enjoy your Wednesday afternoon. You work hard enough. The Milwaukee Brewers are entertainment, and they're going to take 2 or 3. Like I said at the top of the cast, they got a big road trip coming up next. Let's finish it off. Gasser, let's have him give him one on Wednesday, and we'll talk to you late Wednesday night. Chuck Freeman, Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Good night, everybody.